no, this is not like, people think of risk in this context as like gambling. That's not it. You're not going to Las Vegas and spinning a roulette wheel. That's gambling. Entrepreneurship is about understanding risk and including it in your thinking and understanding that most startups fail. But that's okay, and that it's calculated and you're willing to take the risk because the reward can be quickly about how I figured some of this out. And please understand, I have not figured much out at all. I'm just still speculating. When I finally got to Silicon Valley in my long, circuitous moves around the country, as Stage mentioned, I had the best job in the world, which was to be talking about technology. I was editing for them, and they gave me a column, and it was, what wasn't to like? They paid me a ridiculous amount of money, and I had an unlimited travel budget. But keep in mind, that was at a time when newspapers were flush and could do that, and it was huge fun. I started a blog in 1999, before they were even called blogs, and got a much better appreciation of how the audience was part of the journalism. That was a big thing. Then I did a book about citizen media, and that led to a startup. The first one that I co-founded, which flopped miserably, embarrassingly. I explained it in a long letter to the community we were trying to create, and it was embarrassing in ways beyond that, because Business Week used an entire page of the magazine to beat the crap out of me, and that was really not fun. But that's what you do. A couple of years later, got involved with 4 friends in Europe, and I was the token American on this project called Doppler. It was a travel sharing where you're going to be. So that was our plan. We were building. We actually had in mind what I think would have been a fabulous business of creating a social atlas, if you can imagine what that would be. And we were well on our way, but Nokia bought it, and that was a good outcome, because this was, when the economy was melting down, they were waving a check, and we could have kept the company going. We had an investor ready to put more capital in, but again, at a time like that, it was a good outcome. And I'm sad Nokia didn't do much with it, but it was certainly more fun than failing. And then I've been investing and advising in a few other things. Actually, this is an old slide there's 3 of my investments in there, and 2 of them are out of business or close to it. But if I do well on the one that's remaining, I'll do really well. And I'm advising some nonprofits and other. I go part-time to the Cronkite School in Phoenix to work with students, again, on understanding startups. And one thing I tell them is that the reason that anyone, and especially digital media, can do this is that it doesn't cost anything to start. The tools are free. You can get 90% of the code that you need done with off-the-shelf, open-source, free software. At some point, you'll need to raise money if it's going to be a serious enterprise, but I'm a big believer in raising as little money as possible in the startup, mainly because you keep more ownership, and you work harder if it's not as much money. Clay Shirky, whose work everyone should read, has put it really elegantly. There's no barrier between you and doing something. I've mentioned to students, since there's no barrier to entry, that's the good news, right? What's the bad news? There's no barrier to entry. So you'll have competition in about a microsecond after you do something interesting. In fact, if you start something and you don't already find competition, especially in this field, you have to ask yourself whether maybe it's kind of a bad idea. But there are really only 2 possibilities in that case. It's a bad idea, or you're an off-the-charts genius who has come up with something profoundly new. Since I'm not an off-the-charts genius and I don't know too many, I'm generally saying if there's no competition, think again. Not that it's a bad idea, but it might be. And this is a quick view of the process, but the most important part there is do stuff and iterate. It's going to be broken when you launch. In fact, my friend Reid Hoffman, talking about consumer internet products, he started LinkedIn and was an investor in my second company, and I've been an investor with him. This is my transparency. Reid said about consumer internet products, if you are not completely embarrassed by your app or website when you launch it, you waited much too long. Understanding things are broken when you fix them. So a few things that I happen to love in the world. Oh My News was a big hit in Korea a decade ago or more, and citizen journalism, citizens working with professionals, they made a big mistake. They raised a lot of money and expanded into Japan thinking they were going to conquer the world. Well, it flopped in Japan. They're back now, hunkered down, focusing on South Korea, and more employees than they've ever had before. The founder is not out to get rich. He really is. He's a true believer in journalism. But it's a profitable enterprise, and I think deserves incredible kudos. GigaOM started by a former journalist, professional journalist in San Francisco about technology. They have a complicated business model, including running conferences, which may pay for a lot of the journalism. Ancillary revenues are great to have. BuzzFeed, which I'm not enamored of journalistically, though they do some terrific things, apart from their interminable lists. But everything about BuzzFeed is to generate buzz, and you know, a lot of it's entertaining, a lot of it's junk, but there's some good and some bad stuff. But they're, I think, going to succeed. And here's one of the reasons that I hope that you're here tonight, Vermont Digger, which is, I think, one of the terrific new experiments in the country in bringing journalism to a community that's losing a lot of it. They're a not-for-profit. And I wanted to point out that not everything has to be for-profit. My bias is that a for-profit, if you can make it work, is better, because the best discipline is a customer. But not-for-profits are wonderful, and not-for-profits are simply a different business model, but it's still a business. If you're going to do one, you still have to run a business. Another one that I've been an advisor to, Global Voices, aggregating blogs from around the world. And I could show you 10,000 of these things, some of which won't be here a year from now, and some will. But it's exciting. And a couple of student projects, I won't spend time explaining what they are. Actually, I will mention this one. This is run by somebody who is just getting going. She is super smart. She wants, and she actually realized that this needed to happen because the way that I was running the course was so confusing to her that she needed better tools to do her projects with. So in her slide deck that she shows people, part of it is all the stuff that was complicated that they had to do the way we were doing it. So she actually has a customer for this. She's building it now. She's already lined up her first customer. I think this is a great idea, but it's a project management tool aimed at, first of all, entrepreneurship courses, but the scalability, the expandability of this idea is pretty profound, and I think she's got something. And I'll do whatever I can to help her. There's lots of competition, but she's really focused and working very hard, and I think she has a shot. Okay, here's the jealous thing. And here's the thing I want to say to you students. I'm wildly, wildly jealous of you. Because you are starting out. I don't care what you're going to do, in anything that has some digital aspect, which is becoming everything. If you're doing it in journalism and media, you're starting out at a time when everything is available. I will acknowledge it's a scary time, because the meltdown of the journalism business and the media business is, it should worry everybody. But you're starting out when you can invent the future, and I'm counting on you to do it. Because I'm not going to invent the future. I'm just going to watch and be overjoyed by what you all do. So I wish I was your age, starting out in media. God, it would be fun. I would just, oh, I had a really good media career, but it would have been much more fun to do it the way you're going to do it.